her true story from California. My daughter hissed, "Hand over your keys, or I'll have you declared incompetent." I set the keys on the counter and dialed the number she threatened me with. "Adult Protective Services?" I said. "My name is Marion. I'm ready to make a report. It was a Sunday that looked like mercy. Sun through the jacarandas. Bougainvillea blooming like it had something to prove. I was kneading dough at the kitchen island, bread the color of late afternoon, when Eliza swept in with a tote bag and a tone. "We're done playing house," she said. "No hello, no you look nice." Just that. "You're moving to Sierra Pines on Tuesday." I signed the papers. "We'll rent this place out and use the money to cover your care." She made air quotes with a hand that wore a ring I gave her at 23. This place was the stucco bungalow my husband and I bought in 1978 with a teacher's salary, a mechanic's calloused hands, and a shoebox full of coupons. The front door sticks in summer. The lemon tree out back produces beyond reason. The tile is cracked by the sink where Tom dropped a skillet and swore and then apologized to the floor. It is and will remain mine. I wiped my hands on a towel. "We talked about this," I said gently. "We'll add some grab bars in the shower and I'll stop climbing ladders to clean the high windows." That's what we decided. "No, that's what you decided," she said, setting her tote on the counter like she owned it. "You left the oven on last month." "For 5 minutes," I said. I also turned it back off. She rifled through the tote and pulled out papers. A glossy brochure, Sierra Pines Senior Living, where every day is a breeze, a checklist, what to bring to your new home, and a thick packet labeled Power of Attorney across the top. "Sign," she said. "I won't," I said. "You will," she snapped, stepping closer. "Because I'm done babysitting. Because I have a job. Because you can't keep living alone. And because if you fight me on this, I will call APS and tell them you're a danger to yourself." I studied her face, the girl I'd watched sleep with a fist around her favorite bear, the woman who had learned to use the word boundaries and then applied it like a blade. I could have matched her volume. I didn't. I picked up the phone and dialed the number I had scribbled on the back of a dental appointment card 2 days earlier. Adult Protective Services, the voice said, calm, neutral, "A place to land. My name is Marion O'Rourke," I said. "I'm 76. I live at 2458 Magnolia. My daughter is attempting to force a move, gain control of my accounts, and remove me from my home against my will. I'm safe right now. I would like to report financial exploitation and request a well check." Eliza laughed. "Are you kidding me?" she said, incredulous. "Can someone come this afternoon?" I asked the voice. "She's here with papers." "Yes," the woman said. 2 to 3 hours. "Are you alone?" "No," I said. "But I can ask her to wait on the porch." Eliza stared at me, stunned. "You called them," she said, as if naming what I'd done would undo it. "I did," I said. "You said you would. I decided to speak first." She cursed under her breath and grabbed her tote. "I'll be back with a notary," she said. "We're doing this." "No," I said, opening the screen door. "I'm doing this." She left. The screen sighed shut behind her. The dough on the counter had risen beyond what the recipe promised. I punched it down and shaped it into 2 loaves, let my shoulders drop, and put on the kettle because that is what I do when I have a plan. 2 weeks earlier, I lost my reading glasses. I spent 10 minutes patting my pockets and found them on my head. It was funny. Eliza didn't laugh. "This is getting dangerous," she said, and took my car keys, for now. The next day, I found a move-in brochure on my pillow. The next day after that, she called my credit union to be proactive. A polite woman left a voicemail asking to confirm I'd authorized a new joint account. I did not authorize a new anything. I went down to the branch, myself with my canvas bag and my list. "No joint accounts," I told the manager. "No address changes. No password reset unless I walk in," she typed and nodded. "We can set a verbal passphrase," she suggested. "Something only you would know." "Use the name of my 6th grade teacher," I said. She made me diagram sentences, and now I know where to put words so they do the most good. I left the bank and walked 2 blocks to a lawyer's office with a door that stuck more than my front door. The plaque read, Esther Yun, Elder Law. I liked her immediately because she offered me water and then waited quietly until I spoke. I told her everything. Tom dying 5 years ago in a quiet Tuesday. Eliza moving back in for a bit that turned into always. The way my kitchen had filled up with rules that weren't mine. I told her what I could still do, most everything. What I had stopped doing, ladders, driving at night. What I would never surrender, my name on my paperwork and my rosemary plant. Esther nodded, took notes, and drew the map. We'll revoke any powers of attorney you signed under pressure, she said. We'll execute a supported decision-making agreement identifying the people you choose to advise you, your friend Rosa, your pastor, your neighbor Manny, not a manager, an advisor. We'll place your home into a revocable trust with you as trustee. We'll file a no trespass letter that names anyone who tries to move you without your consent. And APS? I asked. APS is for you, she said, looking me in the eye like we were both 10 years old and on the same team. Not against you. They investigate abuse. If she threatens them, call them yourself. So I did. At 2:17, a knock. Not the police. 2 people in work clothes with gentle eyes and clipboards introduced themselves. I'm Tasha, this is Luis, we're with APS, she said. Can we sit? We sat at my kitchen table where bread cooling on racks made the air smell like a memory. They asked questions that respected time. Do you know where you are, what day it is, who the president is? Can you describe your medications? Where are your important papers? What are your plans if you fall? Do you want to live here? I answered each one. I want grab bars in both bathrooms, I said. I want a bath chair and one of those little button things for my wrist. I want my friend Rosa to take me to Ralph's on Wednesdays. I want Manny to check the roof after the first big rain. I want to cook my own soup. I want to sleep in my own bed, Louis smiled. We'll note that, he said. I showed them a folder. My trust, notarized 2 days earlier. The supported decision-making agreement, signed by me, Rosa, Manny, and Pastor Elena. The revocation of anything Eliza had filed on my behalf. Tasha looked impressed. Your attorney set you up well, she said. May we call her if needed? Yes, I said, and gave them Esther's card. We were washing our cups when Eliza returned with a man whose tie had the kind of shine that says he keeps a pen in his pocket to make other people feel small. This is the notary, she announced, breezing in. Let's get this done. Tasha turned very calm. Hi, she said. I'm Tasha with Adult Protective Services. We're in the middle of a visit. Eliza's face rearranged itself. I called you, she said. She's unsafe. No, I said. I called them. We'd like you to wait outside, Luis added, polite but immovable. We'll be out shortly. I watched my daughter's jaw work. She had inherited my impatience and her father's temper, and neither served her well in a kitchen that wasn't listening. This is ridiculous, she said, but she stepped back onto the porch. The notary went with her. Tasha closed the door and locked it. It was a small sound. It was also a declaration. After APS left, I called Esther. It went well, I said. She came with a notary. Of course she did, Esther said. People like to bring witnesses to their worst behavior. The court date is set for Thursday on her emergency petition. We'll be ready. Thursday smelled like stale coffee and the paper of too many lives. Esther wore a navy suit and an expression that did not invite nonsense. Eliza sat at the petitioner's table with her slick tie friend. She did not look at me. Her attorney spoke of burned toast like it was a forest fire. He spoke of misplaced glasses like they were lost children. She's vulnerable, he said, and my client is simply intervening. Esther stood as if her feet were planted in something deeper than carpet. Vulnerability, she said, doesn't erase autonomy. Ms. O'Rourke cooks, bathes, pays her bills, and asks for help where she needs it. She has revoked one-sided authority, executed a trust, and entered a supported decision-making agreement. She has protective rails. What she does not have to do is surrender her door. She submitted 3 exhibits. A letter from my doctor stating I was oriented, a home safety plan with grab bars scheduled for installation next Tuesday, and a statement from APS noting their visit and no findings of self-neglect. The judge, a woman with tired eyes and a fresh mug, looked at me. Mrs. O'Rourke, do you want to move to Sierra Pines? She asked. No, Your Honor, I said. She nodded. Petition denied, she said. Ms. Brooks, if you attempt to move your mother without her consent, if you attempt to access her accounts or property, you will be in violation of this court's order and subject to sanctions. Do you understand? Eliza stared at her hands. Yes, she said. Outside, Esther hugged me the way you hug a person who just decided she is finished being erased. What now? She asked. Lox, I said. And lunch. We ate grilled cheese at the diner on Cypress, the one with the counter that has seen more stories than most churches. Esther slid me a folder across the formica. These are yours, she said. One copy here, one in your freezer, one with Pastor Elena. We'll register a simple no-contact order for 30 days to let emotions cool. The locksmith installed new deadbolts that afternoon. Manny put in grab bars on Tuesday. Rosa came by with a list, and we made an appointment grocery list together for Ralph's like two strategists dividing territory. I still tripped once, catching my toe on the rug. I did not call it evidence. I called it gravity. I strapped the little button to my wrist and pushed it once to hear the recording. If you need help, stay calm. We're on the way. It was the kind of instruction I could finally receive. 2 weeks later, Eliza came by. She knocked this time. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. We stood on the porch in the shade, the lemon tree dropping its gifts one by one. I was trying to help, she said. Not offering an apology exactly, but holding out something less sharp. You were trying to manage, I said. Help is when you hand me the bowl while I stir. Management is when you take the spoon. She looked at the lemon tree. I'm scared, she said. What if you fall? What if you forget? I will fall, I said, smiling a little. And then I will get up, or I will call someone who will help me up. I will forget. Where I put my keys. The name of that actor we like. The reason I came into a room. Those are called days, Eliza. They are not disease. She nodded. Can I come in? She asked. Not today, I said, gentle but firm. Next Sunday. Bring the kids. We'll bake. She pressed her lips together. Okay, she said. I watched her walk to her car with a posture that finally understood she could not organize me and love me at the same time. She would have to pick. I did something else Eliza didn't plan for. I opened my home on Thursday afternoons and called it Keys and Tea. Rosa told her knitting circle. Pastor Elena told the widows. Manny told the guys he plays dominoes with. We sit around my table with a plate of lemon cookies and a pot of Darjeeling and talk about locks. Not the brass ones, the paper ones. We read sample letters, revoke a power of attorney, request removal from a joint account, ask a bank to put a verbal password on file. We practice saying sentences out loud we've only said in our heads. No, I won't sign that today. I need to think. This is my decision. The first week, 3 women came. The next week, 6. Now the house hums on Thursdays with the quiet power of people putting their names back onto their days. I did not sell my house. I rearranged it so it fits me again. I kept the blue bowl Tom bought at a yard sale because it makes bread rise like it's giving me a standing ovation. I got rid of the hutch Eliza insisted we needed because it was too big for the dining room and for her opinion. I moved my bed to face the window so the light wakes me the way Tom used to. Soft, insistent, kind. Sometimes late, I sit on the back steps with a cup of tea and watch the lemon tree doing its one good trick. I think about the things we plant that don't take, about the ones that grow and surprise us, about the people we raise who come back to us holding forms instead of hands, and how we can love them by refusing to sign their bad ideas. Eliza came the next Sunday with the children. The little one charged in like Joy with knees. The older one asked if the lemon tree was ancient. We made bread. We argued about raisins, no thank you, and agreed that butter fixes almost anything. Eliza stood at the sink and washed bowls without being asked. She glanced at me once with eyes that had put some of their sharp away. "Mom," she said, half laughing, "you scare me a little?" "Good," I said. "You'll remember where the lines are. If you've ever been told for your own good by someone who didn't ask what your good looks like, if you've ever had your keys borrowed and your name simplified off your own papers, If you've ever been called stubborn as a punishment for remembering who you are, then you already know what I learned. Help is not the same as control. This is Grandma True Stories. We tell the quiet fights, the ones won with paper and a kettle, the ones that end with a woman sitting at her own table because she decided to. If you believe dignity doesn't expire, if you know kindness can come with a backbone, if you're ready to put your name where it belongs, subscribe. Because when a grandma finally says no, that's not the end of the conversation. It's the part where she gets her life back, her true story from California. My daughter screamed, "Get out or I'll call the cops," so I left and called the realtor instead. She thought I had nowhere to go. I had 3 offers by sunset. It was the kind of Saturday afternoon California is known for. Warm sunlight draped over freshly cut lawns, the hum of conversation rising above the soft clinks of wine glasses, and laughter spilling out into the street like music from an open window. Lauren had invited her usual crowd, colleagues from her firm, a few of Eric's golf buddies, and some local women from her neighborhood fitness group. I, Evelyn May Collins, stayed where I always stayed, just beyond the conversation. In the kitchen, I pulled a tray of still warm shortbread cookies from the oven. It was an old recipe handed down from my mother. I arranged them neatly, wiped my hands on my apron, and carried them out to the patio with the same careful grace I had learned as a young bride. The backyard was buzzing with chatter. Lauren stood at the center, cocktail in hand, laughing too loud, gesturing too wide. Her blonde bob swayed with every word. I caught Eric's eye as I stepped outside. He gave a polite smile, then looked away. "Cookies, everyone," I said softly, offering the tray. The group turned to me, some taking a treat out of politeness. One woman bit in and murmured. That's when Lauren chuckled. "Oh, she just kind of stays here," she said, gesturing toward me with a wave as if I were a fixture, like a parasite. The laughter that followed wasn't cruel, just uncomfortable, nervous, but it still landed like a slap. I didn't say anything. I just stood there holding that tray, pretending my hands weren't shaking. I looked down. Eric avoided my gaze. No one corrected her. No one asked her to stop. I turned, went back into the house, and placed the tray on the counter. I spent the rest of the evening in silence, collecting empty glasses, scraping plates, rinsing dishes. No one would thank me for washing. By the time the last guest left and Lauren's heels clicked upstairs, I was wiping the granite countertop until it shone. Eric passed behind me, mumbled a half-hearted, "Thanks, Evelyn," and disappeared. Not Mom, not even mother-in-law, just Evelyn. 3 days later, I was alone in the kitchen again, preparing my morning tea. I reached into the cupboard for a mug, and in my clumsy haste, brushed a tall glass off the drying rack. It shattered on the tile floor with a sharp, echoing crash. "Damn it," I whispered to myself, bending down to pick up the shards. I didn't even hear Lauren enter. "What did you do now?" she barked. "I'm so sorry." She held up a hand to stop me. "You should know your place," she said, her voice tight. "Don't think you have a right to be here." I looked up at her, pieces of glass still in my hand. "Lord, no," she snapped. "You think just because you're old, you're entitled? You think living here is some kind of reward for being passive-aggressive and cleaning up crumbs? I didn't mean—" "I swear to God," she hissed, "if you don't get out of this house, I'll call the cops." I froze. Lauren had always been sharp, rude even. "But this was different. I'm your mother," I said softly. "This is mine. You think that matters?" She cuttin', pulling her phone out of her back pocket. "Get out now, or I swear I thought she was bluffing until I saw her thumb tap the screen." Heard the dial tone and watched her press the phone to her ear. "Hello, yes," she said calmly. "I need to file a trespassing report." I didn't hear the rest. I walked past her, out the back door, into the garden where my rosemary and daisies still bloomed. I stood among them, my breath shallow, the sun suddenly too bright. This garden had been mine. The soil under my nails, the seeds I planted, the afternoons I spent pruning with care and hope. It was the only place in this house that still felt like me. And yet even here her voice reached me, sharp and certain, speaking to someone on the other end of the line. She was really doing it. She was calling the police. In that moment, standing barefoot on the back patio, surrounded by everything I had grown, I understood something I hadn't wanted to face for months, maybe even years. Lauren didn't see me as a mother. Not anymore. She saw me as an obstacle, an embarrassment, a burden to be removed. And for the first time since Paul died, I didn't feel old. I didn't feel tired. I felt awake, cold, and awake. This wasn't my home anymore, but it was still my house. And now, for the first time in a long time, I was going to act like it. It was the spring of 1983 when Paul and I first stepped into the old Victorian fixer, upper nestled on a quiet street in a sleepy California suburb. The paint was peeling, the floors creaked with every step, and the kitchen tiles looked like they hadn't been touched since the 1950s. But to us, it was